Good morning, everybody. It's Marty the JavaScript Party and my buddy Rhett, and I have a orange peanut M&M for her. We have one bag of M&Ms. It's probably about 30% consumed, left over from Halloween, from handing out candy for Halloween, and she loves them. I definitely don't try to feed her candy too much. But, it's a nice treat for her once in a while. She's like, I think we got her when she was 3 years old, and she's like 35 years old now, so we've had her like 32 years. She seems to be pretty darn healthy. But anyways, we got a disaster, guys. We totally got a disaster. And it's like, it's so important in these sorts of situations. If you have time, you don't normally, 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100 probably, or like when you're in this kind of situation, you just have to get it working. And that's just the reality. There's like people counting on you to get stuff done, and you need to get it done. So this is a rare luxury to just kind of sit down and understand why and understand what went wrong. Now there is a fine distinction between like making excuses and trying to understand. And I definitely am not making excuses here. But they will sound like excuses, but it's more me just trying to work through and understand. I'm not a big proponent of excuse making. I do think making excuses is sort of a very valuable skill. Like it seems to be the currency of the land, to make excuses, but that is not what I'm trying to do here. I am genuinely just trying to understand why things went sideways. And I think the first question is like, why did I miss this whole viz component reference thing? And why did I go to this viz component? Okay, so I missed the viz component reference thing because in the previous application that I built last year, there was only one element, only one DOM element. And see, the thing is ThreeJS needs a DOM element. So there was no reason to manage DOM elements because there was only one. Now, why? Why did I go away from having one DOM element? And it was because in the last version, I was building really cool visualizations. But there was a couple things that I couldn't do. And one of those things was, like, if I wanted to have two animations at the same time, I had to do them individually. So I'd create one, and then I'd create the other, and then I would take videos of both of them, and then I'd resize them and place them. It was a real pain in the butt. And I was like, no, I'd rather be able to be like, okay, I've added this one, and then I added this one, and then I want to make this one small, and I want to place it here, and then I want to show it from a different angle, and I want to be looking at the exact same visualization. That was like one of the things I wanted, and so that's why I would need more than one. Now I'm limited to 16 because that's a browser limitation. You can only have 16, I can't remember what they're called, WebGL renderers, something like that. You can only have 16, and then you exceed the number that's possible. I don't know why it's like a very artificial limit, but the issue is that so I had to track it. So then I went to this viz component concept where I would store a reference to the viz component, and that worked. Apparently, it seems like based on all my end-to-end testing that I had managed to be able to do that, and there was no problems and all that. So, and I think when I did switch over to having a viz component in here, I was shocked at how easily it all came together. But then I realized I went through another phase where I didn't want to create memory leaks, and so I got rid of all these things, visualization IDs, all that renderer IDs, all those kinds of things were objects, and I shifted them over to like a dictionary and a system that keeps track of it. So I did that, and everything seemed like it should be fine, but it isn't. And it was broken to begin with just in one specific scenario that I managed to find with end-to-end testing. And then as I've try to fix it, it's actually gotten worse and worse and worse. So I think if I go here, I think this is what, and then back to here, see, it's like not redrawn. So like we've broken things at a very foundational level, and yeah, and so like I don't know why. I really honestly don't know why it's broken. I would love to just make something up, but I do know. So now I'm trying to work through this, and what I'm hoping is not only do I get it fixed, but that I understand why as I move forward, and that's just the reality of our situation. So why is it not redrawing? And I think yesterday, let me see, I figured out. I don't know. I think we added some console logs. See where we set left, but see, we don't get that. I'm starting to remember now. So if I do this, I add one, I'll get, this is where we set left. If I add another one, I'll get where we set left. And I believe one of the things that I knew we needed was that we don't really want to, we only want to set the values, and then while it's animating, that's when we want to actually update it. We don't want to just try to, we kind of divided separation of concerns, right? There's one thing that's responsible for drawing things, and there's another thing that's responsible for setting where it should be drawn. And apparently, wherever it sets where it should be drawn is not setting it, because okay, so when we come here, and then if we go to this view, and then we go to this view, and we come over here, we know we're seeing the current state of these things, and it should have gone to left, but it didn't. And the other thing is, so, and it makes sense that we wouldn't call this. See, I was actually yesterday kind of on the path, a bad path, where I was like, oh, this needs to be called. No, it doesn't. It's set right. What needs to happen is when this gets drawn, whenever this drawing happens, it needs to relocate the position of the visualization. And I believe, if I remember correctly, it's in the animation. Let's see, it's 8:23, so I have some good time. Good times. All right, so it's not in interfaces. I don't think it's in services. I don't think it's, well, it must be in services. And then where is, there's going to be an animation service, I think. Maybe not. That's so weird. It's so weird. All right, so let's go to our component. No, let's go to our app. If I remember correctly, this is where, but not the CSS, but in the code itself. Request animation frame is browser. So we have this layout loop. I'm guessing this is what does this animation service visualization layout. Request animation frame handler. So I believe that this gets called 60 times. It attempts to call this 60 times per second. So let's console.log. Now we definitely won't want to just leave this. This is a console log that has to go away, because what will happen if we don't go away is, I mean, it'll just pollute the heck out of the console log. So I believe it's running at 60. Yeah, see, you can see that this thing is running over and over and over again. And so then when we add one of these, and then it's running again, and then when we add another one, it's still running, and then we go over here, it's still running, and we go over here, it's still running. So that is definitely happening. And I believe this is where we want to reposition these things. And I think if we inspect this, we go to our elements and we go to our app viz, its position is absolute, but for some reason its left and right doesn't get set. So if this second one, let's see, we have two of them, right? In our app viz, we have this other one. And so really, I think what we should see here is left is equal to 200 px. Just like that. That's what we should see. And I think if we were to refresh this, and we add, and then we looked at the, and see, we see that, well, let's go a little higher up. You see the left is 200 and the top is 0. But that doesn't happen when we come back. So for some reason, it never sets this. And I believe, so let's go ahead and get this, because this is going to be a real pain in the butt. It either happens in this, okay, so this dot layout loop gets called, so interesting. I guess this only calls it once, and then it doesn't call it again, and then I have to set it up again. I'm hoping that this doesn't get called. Like, this doesn't end up setting it up to run 60 times a second, and then set another one up to run 60 times a second, and then set another one to run 60 times a second. I don't think so. I think we would have caught that issue already. Go to implementations. And so this is where the position gets actually set. I think it's that hash thing, yeah. So we only want to do, so we're not changing the hash, which is weird, because we don't want to just do this over and over again, I think. I think that was, doing this over and over again wouldn't be that big of a deal, but as we add more complexity, it will become a bigger deal. So let's see. Log. This is where we set it. No. This is where we set the left and top with an exclamation mark. So we're trying to avoid, I think where this set position gets called, probably right there. No, I don't know where this gets called, but we will figure that out. Go to console, and then add, and then, oh, we still have this. Oh, I think we must still have the old code. Oh, we never did hit save. Save. And we'll hit this little back arrow up here to get where we want to be. And we'll get this guy rolling again. Okay, so we don't have anything. And what I want to see is that this is where we set it. Yeah, this is where we set left and top. So we actually get in there twice. And I'm wondering, probably because it didn't exist the first time. And then add is, and see, this is actually making me think that it's running twice. Because now we have two, so what if I add a third? See, yeah, I think that I screwed this up. Let's see. Let's go to app component. See, I don't think we need to run this again. I think it's just going to keep running on its own. Now, request animation frame handler. And I think that that's just going to keep running. I don't think we have to tell it to keep running. I believe once you've registered it, it'll just keep running it over and over again, but I'm not sure. Although, I guess that's not true because see, it only ran once. And then it didn't run again. Although it must be running because this is turning, and that's what does it. This is weird that manual placement got set 3 times. Animation service 152 is getting called. It's kind of weird though because okay, so set position does not get called over and over again. Okay, so animation visualization. Wow. Get definition. So I think this is what's killing me. This or ignore hash. So it looks like I said, hey, if the visualization or ignore hash, and ignore hash gets called in. But let's see. It's weird because the animation is running, even though I'm only calling it once. But so yeah, I definitely am misunderstanding something. Oh. Okay. I'm setting it in ThreeJS. That's why the animation is working. Because ThreeJS has its own system for running things over and over again. But on my side, I need to set it over and over again. Oh man, I got a mess. And it's definitely based on a misunderstanding. And I think the misunderstanding is I sort of conflated the ThreeJS request animation frame runner from my personal request animation frame runner. And I don't know why I got that concept mixed up, but let's add another one. But then if I go over here, and then if I go over here, and we never get this is where we set left. And that is probably because, well, so if we add one, I'm guessing this is where we set left happened, right? But for some reason, our visualizations didn't change. Oh, this is where things get so confusing. Because we are out of sync. We actually have 3 animations, 3 visualizations, but this thinks we only have the original 2. Okay, so here we are. We have our visualizations, we just have the 2. So for some reason, when we hit add, we did not add it to the visualizations. Right, there should be 4 right now. And if we hit run, so I think that's the bigger problem. We obviously have 2 problems, and now we found a new and that is weird. See, we have 4 here, but then if we go back over here, what do we have? We only have 2 again. And I'm guessing, I don't know for sure, but let's open this up and look. Yeah, it's still 9 and 19, which I think were the original 2. So whenever we hit add in the table mode, It's not adding it to whatever this thing is using. So if we hit refresh, all right, if we go to table, it'll be actually interesting. Let's go to table mode first, and then let's add here. So we end up in here, and see, our visualizations are empty. It should not be empty at this point. So we have found the next bug. And then, so it goes to set it, whatever this is using for visualizations is passed in, and it is not updated. Because now if we go back here, we won't see anything, I don't think. Because oh no, we have our new visualization. That's so weird. Okay, so now let's go back to the table and run it. And then add another visualization. And see, we still only have one visualization. We only have one. It's the original 9, number 9, ID number 9. And then we go back over here. We still have only the one, the original 9. So whatever called this set calculation position is not picking it up. So let's close that. We're back to here. So we still have the 1, and it's still 9. And then, boom. Oh, we're back here again. It's still the 9. So its data is not being updated. And if we were to hit update here, see, that's 12, not 9. Because we could tell by what's in the URL up there. Okay, so now we go back to here. And run this. And my assumption is that if I hit this, yeah, that's 1. Which is weird because this is visualization ID 1. We could tell that. But, so this must not be the visualization ID. This must be a different ID. Renderer ID, maybe? So, yeah, I'm a little confused. And I was definitely confused because it's weird that it must not be the visualization ID that we're looking at. It must be some other value. Now let's look at, I thought the visualization was at the top, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's the renderer. I always get confused by that. ST... See, we've changed the visualization. And see, visualization's outside of the other ones.
Ready?
See, I think the renderer is actually the top. Maybe not. No, visualization is the top. But see, the visualization gets created after the renderer. See, I think you have to create the renderer first. I don't know. I think there's a timing issue here. All right, so the visualization has a renderer ID. I believe that the number that we see up here is the what is the actual renderer ID, not because we're updating the renderer apparently, not the visualization, which is probably a mistake. We probably actually should. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so initially when I built this thing out, I thought, oh, at the very top of the hierarchy is the renderer, but it's actually the visualization, and then I sort of just added the visualization willy-nilly, and now I'm like, I know I want to be able to change these things. I want this to persist. Oh my gosh, I don't even know what to do. This is a good one. Okay, so let's go to the components, layout, interfaces, components, layouts, and update layout. Component. So I wish I'd have named this better, because ID is definitely not very useful. I don't know what kind of ID this is. Get current visualization ID. But my visualization ID is not 1, it's like 9. Or maybe it's skipping the first one. Maybe there is a visualization. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What a mess. So yeah, as you can tell, I'm like kind of just flailing along here right now. And it is important. Normally, like, these flailing things will happen, like hundreds of them will happen in a second for me. Now I'm trying to walk through it in like human language, and it's much harder than trying to do it like in like just focused, you know. But the problem is that when you do it in focus like that, you can't really explain it, and I'm trying to get better at explaining it. All right, so app layout. I'm guessing this is a visualization ID, not one of those IDs. So let's look at the app. Not update, but tabular, because that's how you get to this update. Okay, so it actually updates the renderer ID, not the visualization ID. Because I want to edit the renderer item, not the visualization item. So at some point I conflated renderer item and visualization item, and that has caused a bizarre, difficult to understand bug, because suddenly at some point I switched over from renderer being at the top of the hierarchy to visualization being at the top of the hierarchy, and I think visualization needs to be at the top of the hierarchy, not renderer, because one of the things we want to modify is the layout, the position that these things are laying out in. So st renderer, so now we have like a decision to make. We have to decide, okay, do we want to like determine the visualization based on the renderer, which is very reasonable, but you know, a dictionary would be perfectly perfect for that. But now let's go back to update, because I think at some point I suddenly start talking about visualization IDs instead of. So this has a component which has its own ID. App layout component, get current visualization ID. See, this is not the visualization ID. This is the renderer ID. So I think, first of all, we have to fix that. That has to be named properly, because that is very, very confusing. And then this right here is a renderer ID, not a visualization ID. Now I just want to circle around one last time to double check that, because if I'm getting this wrong at this point, it's really going to screw things up. Tabular layout, delete renderer item, edit renderer item. All right, so it is the renderer ID, not the visualization ID. So let's go ahead and update that. First of all, if I had named this renderer ID instead of visualization ID in the beginning, a lot of these issues wouldn't even exist right now. And that is why it's so important to, if component.id, ooh, Lord, what a mess we make. So the component, okay, so the component gets probably a visualization ID. Again, screwed up. I should have named in the component. Let's back out of this. In the component, I should have named it the kind of ID it is, and that would have immediately flushed out this bug. This bug is nasty. This is a nasty, nasty bug that could have easily been avoided by just naming the ID properly. So what do we have here? So this is the component ID. Component ID. But it has something called an ID on it, I thought. Okay, so I thought when we looked over there, so this is actually called renderer ID, which is, I believe, right. I'm a bit confused because when we went in here, we get the component app update layout component. Oh, that's this ID. That's this is the component. See, so again, poorly named, right? This should be update layout component, not component. Component is too general. Man, am I learning a lesson right now. App layout component. Having general names will absolutely screw you over, and that is to me one of the sort of like when I worked on with other people, like I would work, like I noticed that a lot of the middling developers, they probably should be called teenage developers because they're real pains in the asses. A lot of the middling developers will name things like array, list. You know, it'll be very, 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 very generic. And that's exactly what I did here. This is such a rookie mistake. And this rookie mistake of naming things too generically has, in fact, completely screwed me on this. Because, like, how do I know if it's the actual visualization component or if it's the layout component? It's like having 6 kids and calling them all kid. Like, you don't know which. Oh, you know what? Kid just completely broke the car. You know, crashed the car. And you're like, wait, you have 6 kids. I don't know who you're talking about. Okay, so that is not going to make any difference at all because all we did was rename things. Okay. So now we know that we're processing the app layout. And see, this is called process visualization. Man, I really screwed that up. And like I said, it's such a silly mistake. Okay, so now this is a visualization ID. Let's double check that. This gets called app layout component. When you call this, it calls, I mean, when you go there, when you go to that tabular, that's how you get here. And that is edit renderer item, st renderer, st renderer ID. I think you can go to implementation from here. Maybe not. Now we put the renderer ID up here. So when we add this, we go here, we go there. This is the renderer ID, not the visualization ID. So now we're changing the navigation, which then we're going to kind of skip over some stuff and like not step through, but that in the navigation, it changes things so that this one becomes visible. And when this guy becomes visible, effect, calculate. Okay, so we listen for the route change, and when the route changes, this thing goes and gets the ID based on the current view. And then at some point I got confused thinking that the ID was the the visualization ID when it's actually the renderer ID. And that was silly and naming this ID was silly. Renderer ID. And it's an ST renderer ID. I am just really kicking myself. I knew so much better than this. ST renderer ID. Okay, so now we're updating the renderer ID, not the visualization ID. And that would have absolutely immediately been obvious if I had not and I'm pretty sure this aspect ratio is calculated calculated based on the visualization, not the render. So that is probably going to be broken after this. Okay, we have something else broken. So we're just making more bugs. More bugs, more bugs, more bugs. Really kicking myself. Oops, I think I even saw the other one. Yeah, I have no idea why I would just name that ID. That was silly. ST renderer ID. Same thing here. And it's kind of like one of those things where it's just like you kind of forget because you it's upset about you get kind of like when you don't make that mistake very often, you end up forgetting why, And the problem is that through some crazy set of circumstances, like I was able to get very far without any kind of bugs. So this should not break anything, or should not make anything any worse because we haven't actually, all we did was change names. So we're exactly where we are, we just have like the naming is a little bit better. Oh, I'm curious. Go over here, update. Oh, so the aspect ratio was right. So for some reason that code still works. I thought for sure that, because I'm pretty sure it's based on this visualization. But anyways, yeah, so I'm no closer to understanding why things are broken. I did make some more changes that didn't seem to break anything because it was just a rename of variables, but should make it a little bit easier to make sense of what is going on and why our visualization, if I'm here, so reload, if I go into this mode and I add something, that thing is not, let's see, add, yeah, see, that thing is not available to the some kind of code does not find, could no longer there's a list that it's not getting added to, and that's why if I add it, like I can add things in this mode and they get added to the list properly, to some kind of list, and the ST visualization list that I was looking at in another thing. But then if I come back over here, and that's weird too, right, that I come back over here because they are in the list but they aren't being updated. But then if I add one from here, then there'll still only be 3 in the list. Everything still gets drawn out, so there's a list that of the drawing, whatever list is drawing things out is updated. Whatever list is figuring out what things need to be updated and positioned is not being updated. So anyways, so that is that. No closer to figuring out this bug, but happy coding, everybody. Happy Friday. Bye.